Daniel Cross had exactly $43 left in his checking account, and a 6-year-old daughter who still believed in fairy tales. He stood outside the Aurelius Grand Hotel in a jacket 2 sizes too thin for the November wind, clutching a folder of overdue medical bills for Lily's asthma medication. He wasn't supposed to be here. He was supposed to be 3 blocks away, delivering food orders on a bike with a broken gear shift. But the wind had pushed him past the hotel's golden doors, and something, call it desperation, call it fate, made him stop. Through the glass, he saw her, Elena Voss. Even people who didn't follow business news knew that face. The youngest CEO in Voss Industries history, the woman Forbes called ice in a silk dress. Today she stood in a wedding gown that cost more than Daniel's annual salary, staring at her own reflection like it belonged to a stranger. She wasn't crying. Elena Voss didn't cry, but her hands were shaking. A side door opened. A hotel coordinator rushed past Daniel, nearly knocking him over. In the chaos, Elena's eyes landed on him, a stranger in a thin jacket, holding hospital bills like a shield. "You," she said, "are you married?" Daniel blinked. "Excuse me? It's a simple question." Her voice was steel wrapped in silk. "Are you currently married?" "No, I'm widowed. Single dad." "Why would—" "Perfect." "What?" She grabbed his sleeve and pulled him through the side door before he could finish the sentence. Inside a private suite, away from 300 wedding guests waiting downstairs, Elena Voss made Daniel Cross an offer that didn't belong in his world. "My grandfather's will requires me to be married by midnight tonight, or Voss Industries gets dissolved and sold to the Calder family, the same family that destroyed my father. I am not marrying Richard Calder's son downstairs. I would rather burn the company to ash. Then don't get married. I need a husband, Mr. Collet. Cross. Daniel Cross. Mr. Cross. One night, one signature. Tomorrow morning, quiet annulment. And I transfer $200,000 to your account." She said it the way other people ordered coffee. "I assume that solves whatever is in that folder you're holding so tightly." Daniel looked down at Lily's medical bills, then back at the most powerful woman in the city, offering him a way out like it cost her nothing. "Why me?" For the first time, something cracked in her composure. "Because you're a stranger. Strangers can't betray me the way family does." He said yes. The ceremony lasted 4 minutes. No photos, no flowers thrown, no first dance. Just a judge, 2 witnesses paid to forget faces, and a kiss that neither of them meant. Brief and clumsy, and somehow louder than anything either had said all night. Daniel went home to his daughter that night, with a folded check in his coat pocket, and a wedding ring he wasn't supposed to keep wearing past sunrise. But sunrise came, and Elena didn't call. Instead, 2 black SUVs pulled up outside Daniel's apartment building at 6 a.m. Men in suits, not police, not friendly, knocked on his door, asking where Mrs. Calder Voss was hiding the merger documents. Daniel had no idea what they were talking about. He also had a terrified 6-year-old hiding behind his legs. He called the only number he had, Elena's private line, scrawled on the back of a hotel receipt. She answered on the second ring, breathless. "They found out already?" "Found out what, Elena?" A pause. "The marriage wasn't just about the will, Daniel. It was about keeping something out of Richard Calder's hands, something my grandfather hid before he died. Calder thinks you know where it is now, because legally, as my husband, you're listed as a co-trustee. You made me a target and didn't tell me? I didn't think anyone would find out in 12 hours. By noon, Elena showed up at his apartment herself. No security, no driver, hair undone for the first time since the world had known her name. She looked, for once, like an ordinary woman who was scared. I need you to stay married to me. For real, at least on paper, until I find what my grandfather hid and protect my father's legacy. I know I have no right to ask after what I did this morning." Daniel looked at Lily, asleep on the couch with her inhaler beside her pillow, looked at the men who'd stood at his door hours earlier, looked at Elena, not the CEO now, just a woman who'd grown up being told love was a transaction. "If we do this," he said quietly, "you don't get to lie to me again. I won't." 3 weeks passed, disguised as a marriage. Elena learned Lily liked her pancakes shaped like stars. Daniel learned Elena hadn't eaten a meal sitting down in 4 years, because her father taught her stillness was weakness. They weren't pretending anymore. Not really. Not when she stayed late helping Lily with reading homework. Not when Daniel waited just to make sure Elena made it home from board meetings that ran past midnight. Then Daniel found the documents, not hidden by Elena's grandfather, hidden by Elena, in a drawer in the guest room he'd been sleeping in. Files dated years back. Files proving Elena's father hadn't simply lost the company to the Calders in a fair fight. He'd been blackmailed, and Elena had known the truth since she was 22. She hadn't married Daniel to protect a secret from Calder. She'd married him because the will required a husband with no ties to the case, someone with no reason to ever look in that drawer. He had been her insurance policy, possibly still was. "You used me," Daniel said, holding the folder like it weighed 100 pounds. "Again, the exact thing you said strangers wouldn't do to you." Elena didn't deny it. "I was protecting you by keeping you out of it." "You don't get to decide what protects me, Elena. Not when my daughter calls you family now." The silence between them was the loudest thing in the apartment. That night, Richard Calder made his move. Not against Elena, but against Daniel directly. With a custody threat, dressed up as a concerned citizen, report questioning his fitness as a father, timed perfectly to break the one thing Elena's money couldn't touch. Elena stood in Calder's office the next morning, alone, no lawyers, and did something Voss Industries' boardroom had never seen. She offered to hand over 40% of her shares, not to save the company, but to make the custody complaint disappear within the hour. "You'd give up your father's company," Calder said, "for the kid of a man you married for paperwork?" "He stopped being paperwork," Elena said, "the moment he believed me when no one else did." When Daniel opened his door that evening, Elena stood there without a single security guard, without the company she'd spent her whole life protecting, holding nothing but a folder with Calder's withdrawn complaint inside. "I gave it up," she said. "All of it. You were right. I don't get to decide what protects the people I love. Not anymore." Daniel stared at her, then at the ring still sitting in his coat pocket, the one he was supposed to return the morning after their wedding. "Does this mean," he said slowly, "you're staying married to me on purpose this time?" Elena almost smiled, the first real one he'd ever seen. "Ask me again tomorrow." But neither of them noticed the black sedan parked across the street, the one with Calder's lawyer inside, reviewing one final document that could undo everything Elena had just sacrificed to protect them both.